Welcome to a brand new episode of Curious and Inspired. I am your host, Matt Vandrick. In our first story, I'm going to explain Meta's recurring privacy problem and how their Meta glasses aren't making things any better for them. How is it that they keep wanting us to trust them and yet they keep violating our trust? Listen up. Then we're going to talk about how the UK is calling 911 on big tech and why the US should be doing the same thing. And for our third big story, all the hype around these agentic chatbots. But what are the agents actually doing? Are they agents of assistance or agents of chaos? The reports are in, and it sounds like they're doing way too much. Let's get into it, shall we? The UK is calling 911 on big tech. So what would you do if you could call the police on the internet? Well, apparently you can in the UK. The Information Commissioner's Office, ICO, has opened formal investigations into X Internet Unlimited Company and X.AI, which is basically Elon Musk's companies, over how they've been processing personal data in connection with the Grok AI ecosystem. Specifically, the concern is Grok's potential to generate harmful sexualized image and video content. And yes, unfortunately, children are allegedly involved. The ICO is the UK's independent data protection regulator. They investigate complaints about personal data, digital organizations, and businesses. And in this case, they didn't mince words. The reports about Grok raised troubling questions about how people's personal data has been used to generate intimate or sexualized images without their knowledge or consent, and whether the necessary safeguards were put in place to prevent this. That's an enforcement agency saying plainly, what your app is doing is harmful to our citizens, and we're not going to allow it anymore. This is what regulatory muscle is supposed to look like. The ICO issues monetary penalties, they prosecute, and they reprimand. They monitor unsolicited texts and emails sent to consumers. They find companies that get hacked because their position is that if you're holding millions of customers' records and someone breaks in, you weren't doing enough to protect those people. The framing that a breach is partly your fault is bold and not something that we see here in America. The ICO also works closely with Ofcom, the UK's online safety regulator, and other digital bodies through the Digital Regulatory Cooperation Forum. The goal is straightforward. Make sure digital platforms are designed with both privacy and safety in mind before something goes wrong. In the US, we're used to hearing about a teenager who became addicted to social media, suffered real harm, and then after the fact, their family sues a tech giant. What we rarely see is proactive, routine monitoring of bad behavior before it actually comes to fruition. This ICO investigation feels different. It feels like calling 911 before the break-in. You see someone at the door, you sense what's coming, and you call the police before they even get inside. By contrast, the US approach to internet regulation is fragmented across several agencies. The FCC handles infrastructure and net neutrality. The FTC covers consumer protection and antitrust. The DOJ handles cybercrime and antitrust enforcement, but there's no single central body with a clear mandate to protect people's data and hold tech companies accountable in a coordinated, ongoing way. Think about what would change if US companies faced serious fines every time customer data was compromised. They'd probably do better at making sure that they had less security issues, because the cost of not doing so would be immediate and real. The fact that the US doesn't have an organization like this says a lot about what we prioritize here. The US government has not federally prosecuted anything regarding X or XAI. The city of Baltimore, however, began a municipal lawsuit against XAI for Grok deepfakes. The city is arguing that Elon Musk's business violated consumer protection ordinance. As reported by The Guardian, XAI marketed Grok as an all-purpose AI system without disclosing potential risks. Is your favorite social media platform violating its users' privacy again? California Attorney General Rob Bonta just announced a $50 million settlement against Meta for deceiving millions of users about their privacy controls and allowing third-party apps to improperly access personal information. This is on the heels of a Cambridge Analytica settlement in 2022, where data from an estimated 7 million California Facebook users was collected and sold. Meta did not admit to any wrongdoing. Now, $50 million to the average person is probably only coming with a lottery ticket. But in 2024, Meta generated $164.5 billion in revenue. That $50 million settlement represents about 0.03% of that total. They earned $18.78 million per hour, meaning it take about 3 hours or so to be able to afford to pay the settlement. According to an investigation by Swedish newspapers, videos recorded by Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses were being sent to subcontractors in Nairobi, Kenya for data annotation. And so the things that people were seeing through their glasses were being sent to people in Kenya to annotate. So people doing private things, people going to the bathroom, people getting undressed, often people who had no idea they were even being recorded. So now the automated systems were supposed to blur faces, but failed regularly, according to people that work there. So these contractors had a front row seat to some of the most intimate moments of people's lives, moments that people believed were completely private. The internet started calling these pervert glasses, and honestly, it doesn't sound too far off. Meta, I'm sure, is not thrilled with that nickname, but when your product is being used to watch people undress without their knowledge, it starts to create a slippery slope. So these are two major privacy violations for Meta back to back. One where Meta was caught giving third parties access to user data, and another where their own glasses were essentially streaming people's private lives to overseas contractors. So this is a signal. So the signal here is that if you are using Meta's platforms, you already knew that your data was being shared. And before that was really just limited to your scroll behavior, your purchase habits, and the content that you're interested in. But now with smart glasses, it's quite literally everything you see. Perplexity just unveiled an AI agent called Computer, where you give it a high-level objective and it breaks the goals into subtasks, assigns each one to a specialized AI model, and runs the whole operation autonomously. And this could go on for hours, days, even months, without you even having to touch it. It runs in a secure cloud environment and manages its own workflows. Researchers at MIT, Cambridge, Harvard, Stanford, the University of Washington, and the University of Pennsylvania just published a sweeping survey of 30 of the most widely used agentic AI systems. Agentic AI, as magical as it feels, right now is a major security nightmare. A nightmare defined by a lack of disclosure, a lack of transparency, and a striking absence of basic safety protocols. These are some of the most respected research institutions in the world, and their assessment of this technology is that we're not sure everything that can go wrong just yet. And that's why you see everyone using them, even when we were talking about Claudebot, that's why you saw everyone using them on Mac Minis. They're trying to keep them contained. I had mine running in a virtual machine. It hasn't gotten out yet, but I guess who knows? For many people, there's no way to actually monitor what the agent is doing while it's running. You set it loose and you hope for the best. And the thing is, it doesn't identify itself when it's doing the task that you tell it to do. So if your agent is emailing someone on your behalf, that person likely has no idea that a bot is the one who messaged them. There's no watermark or disclosure. And some of them can't be stopped midway. Alibaba's mobile agent, HubSpot's Breeze, IBM's Watson X, these tools have no documented way to halt execution mid-run. Imagine your agent starts doing something wrong and you have no kill switch. Depending on what you have it doing for you, that can be pretty catastrophic. If not managed in the right way, these tools can send emails without your sign-off, change system configurations, accumulate permissions they were never supposed to have, and confidently report that a task was completed even when it wasn't. So now we have to worry about our AI agents lying to us as well. And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess they really were made to be human-like. Here's my read on all this. The market is telling you that agentic AI is ready. I don't think it is. I think that it's fun. I think it's a tool. I think you can certainly use it to extend your power and productivity, but I wouldn't throw all my eggs in one basket just yet. Some of these tools may be more ready, but they are not all equally ready. And it's going to be really important for you to protect yourself and stay informed. Don't let the hype make decisions for you. Be selective, be skeptical, and as of right now, don't hand an agent the keys to anything you can't afford to lose. So before I get into the thought of the week, I have a question. Does AI change the value you place on products that are sold to you? Because Gucci just answered that question for us, and I don't even think they really meant to. Gucci, the fashion brand, posted AI-generated images to promote their fashion show in Milan. Models, fur coats, stylized cars, a night sky, each stamped with a disclaimer, created with AI. And the internet had a lot to say about it. One commenter wrote, "Why should people pay for a luxury brand that doesn't even respect itself enough to use real people in their campaigns?" Now, before we go any further, I do want to be fair. Gucci's new creative director is Demna, who came from Balenciaga, and he was creating things that were equally controversial there. This time, he told CNN he didn't think it was controversial at all. He said, quote, "This is 2026 and I'm using things as a tool," end quote. And I mean, the internet spent 4 days straight arguing about these images before the show even started. So if the goal was to get everybody talking about Gucci, mission accomplished, I guess. Demna knows exactly what he's doing. Even if it was intentional chaos marketing, I think the question it raises is still worth sitting with. Because AI is, by design, a democratizing technology. It levels playing fields and lowers barriers to entry. And that's popular in a lot of contexts, but luxury has never really been about democratization. Luxury is exclusivity. It's the hand-stitched detail, the photographer who spent 3 hours on lighting, the model whose face tells a story that a generated pixel composite shouldn't be able to. Kering, the parent company, has used AI operationally for years, forecast planning, inventory management, but using it for the campaign feels a little bit different to me. I guess mostly because it's on the creative side. Y'all already know my stance that humanity in the next decade is going to be our biggest commodity and the value that the human touch is going to play over the next couple of years. My question for you is, at what level do we still require the human touch? Because technology has been incorporated into creative spaces for a very long time. People had aversions to music in the 80s when real instrumentation was swapped out for more electronic sounds. Movies today have more CGI than they did back in old Hollywood. So the idea of non-human elements in creative spaces isn't necessarily new. So at what point does it become too much in your eyes? Is it the loss of jobs? Is it when things are produced too quickly and therefore lowers the bar for creative integrity? It's a slippery slope, but I think it's going to be important for us to better articulate the aspects of AI within creative fields that bother us the most. Or else we'll really never be able to create a world where we find the ideal balance to coexist with it. Let's have a dialogue. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about creative spaces being infiltrated by AI? And at what point do you feel like integration with AI is too much? Hit me up, let me know, and I'll talk about it more in a future episode. Speaking of Fashion Week and the things that capture the cultural conversation, that brings me to the thought of the week. Who decides what we're supposed to care about? Like, who decided that today or this week or this month, these are the things that matter? I was thinking lately about how and why so much of the cultural conversation is dictated by what's trending on social media. But then I had to zoom out and realize it was bigger than that across all industries. So bear with me, it's gonna sound random, but remember when kale became the golden child of greens? Somewhere around 2010, suddenly kale was heralded as a superfood. And then kale was everywhere. Kale salad, kale juice, kale smoothies. The reason why it stood out to me is because my granny used to cook kale for Thanksgiving instead of collard greens since the 70s. And it really wasn't a big deal. I always just took it as what we ate. And then pop culture suddenly made it the thing to do. The same thing happened with avocados. In around 2012, avocado toast basically became a personality trait. Apple cider vinegar suddenly was the cure for literally everything. And even further back when I was growing up, thinking about food campaigns, the incredible edible egg, pork, the other white meat, where's the beef, got milk. All of that was designed to boost sales for the farming industries. So when I went down that rabbit hole, it made me have a heightened awareness for the things we're being shown. And it made me realize that there's nothing we see that there isn't a reason for us seeing. And then that made me almost see things a little bit better. We are constantly being told what to care about, what to eat, what to watch, what to wear, where to go. And most of the time, we don't even question it. It becomes dressed up as the cultural thing to do. It's just what we do. This is the popular thing to do these days. And I get it. I mean, I've done this as well. I've literally gone to restaurants because Instagram told me to. I bought things on Black Friday just because they was on sale. I've stayed at certain hotels just to say I did. I understand. But lately, just with everything going on in the world, I've been more like, why? Why do I care about this? Why are we talking about this? It probably just relates to how crazy the news cycle actually is, that when I see things that almost feel superfluous or feel unnecessary, it makes me question why anyone is even talking about it. So that's kind of like where this started. But then it made me realize that it's bigger than trends and moments. We can probably do the math on where trends come from, but I zoomed out and thought about how moments really are dictated by the calendar. Think about how the calendar works. January, new year, new me, the cash cow of resolutions. You should join a gym, sign up for a new therapist, go on a diet, start fresh, Post-it notes, mood boards, the economy of starting over. That's January. February, Valentine's Day, flowers, dinners, the pressure to perform love publicly. You should buy flowers and candy. February is also Super Bowl. Have a party, bet on the game, wings, more wings. Don't you want to buy food and liquor? March, April, May. March Madness, brackets, Memorial Day weekend sales, the official kickoff of outdoor season spending. Don't you want to buy a grill to get ready for summer? June through August, that's summertime. Summer vacations, travel, music festivals, 4th of July, fireworks, wine coolers, entertaining guests. September, back to school, new clothes, new tech, pens, papers, crayons, the whole nine. Back to school is essentially the new year, new me for kids. New backpack, even though the old one was fine. New. Don't you want to buy new stuff? It's the start of a new year. October, Halloween, costumes, decorations, candy, an entire industry built around one night. November, it's Thanksgiving time. Now it's time to have a feast. Buy tons of food you don't even want to eat by Saturday. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the single biggest consumption event on the calendar. Don't you want to buy a new TV, laptop, speakers? Then December's Christmas time, the holidays, the grand finale, the culmination of an entire year designed to move product. Red and green, Santa, gifts, cards, more gifts, plane tickets, travel. And then we do it all over again every year, year after year. It dawned on me that we're literally carroted through the entire year, our entire lives. And I'm sure I was missing a few holidays, but you get the gist. And the thing that's interesting is that none of this is accidental. In the 1920s, Edward Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, wrote something he called the engineering of consent. His whole thesis was that you don't sell products to people who want them. You create the desire first. You actually engineer the cultural moment. His business partner at Lehman Brothers, Paul Mazur, said it out loud. People must be trained to desire, to want new things, even before the old have been entirely consumed. We must shape a new mentality. Man's desires must overshadow his needs, end quote. And that was in the 1920s. They were saying this out loud, and somewhere along the way, it just became ingrained into the way that we live our lives. And I think what fascinates me the most is what happens when you zoom out even further, because it's beyond how we spend our dollars. It's also about how we spend our time, our attention, and our energy. Because at face value, who said to care about the things that we care about? So we know the power of the economic dollar, and there have been things like, the Target boycott, for example, where we can see how much impact can be made over boycotting an organization. But boycotting is an action in reaction to something. It's an opt-out. And it got me wondering, what would the world look like if we took a harder stance on what we opt into? What would a world look like if we stopped consuming in general? The hamster wheel of consumption is crazy to me because everything just feels so strung along. Something I want you to consider and ponder about your own behavior is how much of what you do in a given year is because you genuinely wanted to, and how much of it is because the calendar made you feel like it was time. We tend to point fingers at individual companies when they do something wrong, but I think the real conversation is about the infrastructure underneath it all. The entire machinery of manufactured desire that's been running for over 100 years. So I'm curious, is there a month, a holiday, a cultural event that you participate in every year but couldn't actually tell me why? Or something you've quietly opted out of on your own and you realize you didn't want to do it anymore? What do you think would happen if more of us started asking those questions? Because in a world where your attention, your emotions, and your wallet are being optimized on a schedule that you didn't write, choosing what you actually care about might be one of the most quietly powerful things that you can do. At the end of the day, the calendar was written for you before you were born. The question is whether you're going to keep following it or start writing your own. As always, stay curious, stay inspired. All right, now it's time for Ask Matt. Why does it feel like nothing is built to last anymore? Apps, relationships, jobs, everything feels temporary. Well, that's because it is temporary. No, I'm kidding. I see what you're saying. The world is accelerating. I think things are moving incredibly fast, and it doesn't help that there's so much going on that the days sort of blur together because we're constantly inundated with information. I think that also may be why things feel very, very accelerated. In terms of built to last, I would say, if I'm understanding correctly, I think that it's economics. When you think about fast fashion, or you think about, how quickly movies leave the theater and end up on demand, like all of that type of stuff, like the acceleration of things have to do with the constant need to produce, the constant need to do more, to generate more revenue and be bigger and better and more. There is a more sensibility that has taken over the world. But I also don't think that you need to hinge yourself to that. I think that one of the most important things that we can do, and this is what I try to practice, is understand what's happening in the world around you, but know very well how to disconnect from it. And if you feel like nothing is built to last, then you should start building things that do last. First of all, what does last mean to you? What are you really looking for? What kind of durability or texture does that actually mean for you? And then how do you integrate it into your own environment? The people that you hang out with, the places that you go, all of those things. If you want things that feel less temporary, you should start to build things that are more solid in all the categories of your life. I get the sentiment though, because I feel the same. Good luck. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the show. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm having a lot of fun. This is crazy. This is episode 7. And we're rolling. We are rolling right along. I'm so happy that more and more of you continue to join every week. And there's so much more to come. Stay tuned for episode 8. Next time, we're going to be talking about the monolith of media. What does it really mean when all the media consolidates under one? Everything about Larry Ellison and my thoughts on it next episode. Until then, as always, stay curious, stay inspired. Y'all be good. Peace. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for new episodes Thursdays bi-weekly at 8 p.m. Connect more with me at CuriousInspired.com and at CuriousInspired on all socials. Thanks for watching. As always, stay curious, stay inspired. Y'all be good. Peace.